go ahead and start the actual meeting at 7:03. Let's back up to roll call. And let the record show that we do have 6 board members, voting board members here. Sarah Holmstrom, Paula Birchler, and Whitney Pierce do have excused absences. Adoption of agenda. Now that we're all here, does anybody like to make any changes to the agenda as presented? Hearing nothing, let's approve the agenda by acclamation. We've had the hearing. Announcements. This will be a fast night.
No, it'll be quick. We learned today that we talked about the fishing derby last meeting, and learned today that actually Azam Nader has taken that on, put an advertisement in the Views with dates and times set.
I'm sorry, who's?
Azam Nader is completely funding and administering the entire event.
That's great.
So trophies have already been purchased. The whole thing is being handled, so it's off our plate. But it is scheduled in the ad for the event, the times and dates. I think it was the 27th of this month, and it's in the Views.
I'm just wondering if Jim Huthert has been informed, because I know
I don't
he's
know.
very-
I'm happy to call Jim and Elizabeth.
Sorry?
I'm happy to call both Jim and Elizabeth to let them know, because I know they go every year.
They would love to know what's
Okay,
going
I'll give them
on.
a call.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Other announcements? Okay, moving on. Town Square invitation update.
Yeah, what had happened with that, it was a glitch on their end. Some people did not get emails, some people did get emails. They have rectified that as of April 2nd. And if you haven't got any emails, please reach out to us and we will.
I did receive mine on the 3rd.
Right. Yeah, it was nothing on Sudden Valley's end, it was technical difficulties on their end.
Town Square's in.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten one either, but I know that my email service takes care of a lot of stuff that I never get to see.
So it might be in spam?
Yes.
Okay.
Spam.
Property owner comments. My, it's quiet tonight. All right. Moving on. Board comments. Hearing nothing, moving on. Continuing business, the February snow response after action report.
So Norm and myself and all the couple other managers have been working on this. This was an unprecedented storm, something we have not seen here in 10 years. We learned some good, valuable lessons from some of the things that we have done to better improve our processes with this. The communication aspect, now that Town Square will be operational for the next winter storm, should greatly improve the communications that are going out. Just so everybody knows, Norma and myself were on the phone constantly throughout the whole storm, getting updates. He would download, or he would send me reports as far as roads, how they are, what condition they're in, where we're trying to get to. At that time, maintenance came in, and we were on the radios from about 3:30 in the morning, pretty much around
Just
the clock.
checking to make sure everybody's awake.
So that was the one good thing, but daily there was reports given to the school districts right on down through the fire authority. So Norm spent a lot of time with them, and we did a lot of work communicating out, but the big thing was C3, or not C3, the Town Square will help a lot with the email blasts and the communications out to the members. So one of the things that was done, if an emergency is actually called by the governor, we do have some abilities to do a couple different things. Those being, we could require change, we could actually shut roads down. Those are some pretty drastic measures, but they are things that we could do as a group to make it a better process for us to get the snow out of the way and no one gets stuck or hurt. So there will be some things that we could look at going forward. 1610 was a very valuable source this winter. and hopefully that stays as well. One of the things that we did learn, that I learned, having come from out east and moved mountains of snow, that snow removal out here is a little different. One of the things that we will be doing going forward, September, we will sit down with the entire team and look at the actual snow removal process. From how the de-icer and material goes down to how the roads get plowed. My goal will be try to work with everybody to get at least one cut through every road. The way we will do that is to go back to the old way we used to move snow out east. You would put your material down first. You would run your dry into the intersections pretty heavy or into areas that are known problems. You would run it rate and a half. What that will do is while the road is still dry and there's no snow on it, it will pull it through the community. So you will get your snow all the way through. Then we can come back in with liquid de-icer before the snow comes, and what you'll get is up to about an inch it will take care of, and then you'll get a water layer. Anything above an inch, it won't take it off. So when you start getting to 3 to 4 inches, when we actually put plow to the road, we have a water barrier. So without being able to put a metal blade right on, it should, in theory, help to get the snow off quicker. With the two things, yes?
Just a question about that water layer. Water layer has always been a problem because of freezing. So given that you're building that with the use of these additional chemicals, is freezing not a problem?
Freezing won't be a problem because at that point, if the liquid will eat up to an inch of snow, it'll take it right off. Where it gets into an issue is where it's coming quick. So you will have that layer. So eventually when we get the plow down, and say we have 2.5 inches on the ground, we won't be frozen in yet. It'll still be, the liquid will still be there. You'll still have your dry material in there working as well. So you'll push it right off down to should in theory be able to push it off to Bear Road. I've seen that done out east. We'll give it a shot out west. So all we can do is keep trying. I'm going to keep trying different avenues to get the snow off as quickly as I possibly can. One of the things I do want to really stress with them is we have to at least get one cut into every road and then back our way out and stay on primaries and work our way in. Even if it's a single blade right down the middle of the road on the primaries first to get it pushed, get me a lane cut, and then go into every road and then back come out and do everything coming back in. Go right back to the primaries. So we will be looking at the snow removal schedule and maps in September. We'll be riding them. I will go with Bruce and the team and ride so they get to know where all the bumps are. Might even try to experiment with a little bit of blade to ground in some of the spots that I think we might be able to pull it off. And I'll determine that with Bruce based off of the roads. So that, you know, there are areas where we can do it where the manhole covers aren't too bad. But if the way we did it out east was everybody had their own designated roads and routes. They knew every bump, every glitch, every little thing that was in the road. But they rode them a week, 2 weeks at a time, a clips, so before we had snow coming in, so they knew where everything was. That's some of the process that we're gonna put in place as well, so that one of the operators is over here in gate 1. He knows all his route, he knows where all the problems are, so that we can get a better response and quicker.
Will it help when we put the new surfacing down on the road?
I think it will help some. Again, I don't know how that is going to work. I've never seen that application ever used. So until that goes on the ground, I don't know. I can't comment on that, but that will be some of the stuff that I will look at if I could put blade to ground. If it looks like it's durable enough. I don't know. And there are some places in the community that I think we can get away with it. There are some roads that I travel and rode around. There's manhole covers that I can run over and it won't. The question will be is how good is the road, the actual surface. So.
Would it also be helpful to get a list of those people with medical problems, et cetera, who actually need to be able to get out to doctors or things like that? That will be one of the things that we'll be working on with EPC. Is try to build that database.
so that if something does come up,
Yeah. Your fire responders can get out, your
Right,
medical people can get out. Yeah.
one of the things, we had the luxury in Pennsylvania where we were gated, so all of my security guys knew all the residents. If there was something that wasn't right, people are pretty habitual, the patterns don't change. If something didn't look right when they were traveling, they'd do a welfare check, they'd knock on the door. Same way when we had big snow events, we knew the people who needed to get in and out, and we did everything we could to get them in and out. Same way if we had a big storm and we had a call, whether it was an ambulance call or a fire call, we dispatched everybody off route to get the rigs in and out. So, and that's a good thing being in a private community. We should be able to capture all this information and pass it on down right to the sheriff, right on the fire company, right to us, so that we can get out and get it done and help them.
Okay.
Yes.
Carol?
I'm wondering if Town Square could be utilized to some degree to request people to let us know if they have medical issues.
I think, again, I don't know that.
I don't know if that's a
But
capability or not.
if it has that capability, that is something definitely that we would plug in and use, so that's another tool to help the community, or help Norm, myself, and first responders to get people in and out. Information is key. I mean, the more we have, and then we can figure out how we want to use it and where we want to go with it. One of the things, we're going to work on trying to get de-icer weekends, figure out where we can store that and how the process will be to get it out. We did go through quite a bit the weeks that we were there. Lisa was running in and out of the back room quite a bit trying to get that. So I would say we were going on an average of about 50 bags a day. We were moving in and out, so.
Do we
and
still
then-
have some if people want to stock up for next year?
We do.
You do, okay.
But we have to find a better way for the weekend because we're only Monday through Friday.
Right.
So we can do it, we'll work with the golf shop to put it down there and they could have a supply or get into the closet upstairs.
Okay. Other questions? Mike?
First of all, I want to thank,
Microphone, please.
first of all, I want to thank you and Norm for the whole document. It's well done, for one. It brings up a lot of questions and lessons learned for another. I have one question on the declared emergency, although I would love to say that to be able to tell people that they can't travel unless they have chains. What does liability do in that condition? That if the governor has declared a state of emergency, the county has declared a state of emergency, and then let's say that the general manager has the authority from the board to declare a state of emergency, liability-wise, where are we?
That I could not answer. I would have to run that through legal. I think that's a bit harsh. I mean, I wouldn't go to that level. I would figure a better way to get people in and out, different parking. It is an option that we could do, but I would use that as a last resort, Mike. I don't think I would jump in to say, okay, everybody's got to have chains or you can't run.
I'm not specifically saying change, but I mean in general, the saying that we're in a condition of, this is an emergency condition. Liability-wise, I'm concerned about that.
I would have to ask legal on where we would fall liability if we declared it along with the county and the state.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Just to chime in on that, my input would be that we would be likely to be more liable if we didn't echo the state and the county than if we did. What the issues that we would have, as I understand them, are more, what do we require when we declare an emergency? What are the operations, like requiring chains and not letting people drive and yada, yada? That's where the real legal issues can come up, and we have to be careful, obviously, what we tell people they can or cannot do.
The other thing that would be really helpful would be a true command center in the instance like we had for 6 weeks. A command center where everything is there. We put out all the information as one area. It makes it a lot easier. People could get their information. They could get, the salts, the de-icer if we're not around. That would be something we would look going forward. To have an actual designated area where Norm and Bruce and myself would be completely working out of.
Love that.
Carol?
I think that would be a huge step forward for any kind of an emergency, whether it's snow or anything. I feel that that's the one big thing that we're missing, is an incident command center where any major incident can be handled and most effectively. So, and then the only other thing I would say is let's hope that all of your plans and practices don't have to be put into place again for at least another 3 years.
I'm hoping 10.
I can hope. Hey, I'm an optimist.
Oh, 10.
We get a tabletop out of it.
And the very last page, you flip it over. There is the final cost for what it cost us to remove 6 weeks of snow.
I noticed that the 3 payroll lines here, the first one just says payroll, then it says regular payroll, and then payroll overtime. So may I assume that the first 2 are, we would have been paying these people anyway?
Yep.
Okay, and then the overtime is the
Above and
additional for this, for this event? Okay.
Yes. So the total payroll was 45,000. We had the 31,000 budgeted in whether it was golf or rec.
Right.
So that was.
So we did use both golf maintenance and
And we used
regular
some
maintenance.
golf maintenance, regular maintenance, and we used one.
Anybody who
one
could drive a truck.
Huh? Anybody could drive a truck. They were even, I talked to Bruce and they were gonna put me in the 906. I haven't run one in a few years, so Bruce wouldn't put me in it. I couldn't figure it out. It's like riding a bike, but he would not put me in it. So, and they would not put me in a truck either, so.
Time to re-up.
Okay. So we did exceed our budget by just a tad.
A couple pennies.
Yeah.
So it was, we did have budgeted 15,000. The whole storm, the whole snow from start to finish was 109.
Eric?
The very last line, the expected request for UDR, would then it be decreased by the regular payroll, $31,000?
We could, there's a couple ways we could do it. We could leave the 31,000 in the budgets where they would fall. Or we could pull them out, and which has been done in the past, and put them directly to the storm so we could see a true storm cost. So that's why it's in there that way. So what you would see is it would be, you'd have a $31,000 payroll line from the UDR, and you would see the associated savings on the other side, whether it was golf, maintenance, or parks. So we either do one side or the other, but Jennifer feels it would be cleaner if we put everything into the snow event,
True.
weather event, so that we have a clear picture of what it truly costs
Right.
going forward.
What we're spending on,
Yep.
yeah. Just because you're golf maintenance doesn't mean that you spent this time on golf this week.
Right.
Okay. You're right.
Just on costs as well. When I was first looking to buy here, it was February 2011, and there was a pretty nasty snowstorm that year. Same thing, January 2012 was a pretty nasty storm. It would be useful, I think, to take a look at what we spent during those 2 particular seasons. They didn't last as long. I believe that 2012 was over a week, but it didn't stretch as long as this one did. 2011, I just know it was a terrible snowstorm. I don't remember how long it lasted.
Carol?
The only thing I would say about that is it could be very interesting, but I will pretty much guarantee you that the records that we are keeping today are far more.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to divide out what got spent where. In fact, we didn't know in those days who was in maintenance and who was golf and what was being spent where. So we could look and see, but my guess is that would be a pretty hard thing to pin down.
Yeah, if it turns out to be
I hear what
hard,
you're
then
saying,
don't
yeah.
waste time doing it.
I'm guessing that it's not going to be very accurate, whatever we're able to pull together. So sorry, I wish we could, but anything from 2015 on is Jennifer's work, and she's done a marvelous job with all of this, so.
But if we just look at the numbers that we have here, we see that supplies alone, we're running $25,000. And so this should kind of inform us as to what we need to put into the budget for snow response going forward. It's just a consideration. You know,
It's
and we have
clearly
this-
more than we were thinking last year when the
Oh, yeah.
budget was being drawn
Right.
up.
But it was accurate for the trend up to that point. We
it-
put money
That's the
in
problem with
based on what
trends.
it is. And
More
trends-
data changes the trend.
Longer trend time gives us a better idea, and, but even then, the whole idea of this kind of a storm that happens every decade or so, you're probably still not gonna wanna put aside that much money into a budget to anticipate it and then not have a storm at all.
Right, yeah, I mean, if you did a quick linear average over those four, I think that would be a number that still would be too high. I would say probably 50,000 would be a safe number to put in. It's surely not 15, because in the last 4 years, we've spent less than that only once.
If we do not spend the full amount, we
It
can
just-
roll it over,
Can roll it over.
right? Okay, all right.
And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because then you're banking it for that future date when you do get hit with $100,000.
It's kind of like a snow reserve account.
Yes, yeah. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to make a little
storm.
thing. The only other,
Yes, sir.
yes, Mike.
Okay,
The only
everybody-
other thing that I wanted to say is I really love the recommendations on equipment, and I hope Finance Committee takes a real serious, hard look at getting action on those things as soon as possible.
As soon
Okay.
as they are brought to our attention, we will consider them and recommend to the board accordingly.
I think when it comes to equipment, one of the things that we need to look at is some type of a vehicle that we can, a smaller vehicle, that we can get in and out of some of the areas that we can't get to with our bigger trucks. So that would be something that would be above and beyond, and it could be something we could cross-utilize against any other, whether it's golf or maintenance or parks and recs. It could be a vehicle that could be used across all aspects. And then when it snows, it becomes,
Use it for-
use it for snow.
There's some interesting equipment that the county and state people used for working on the bicycle trails out here. Some tiny little things, but extremely powerful.
Yep, yep, compacts, yeah, that would be some of the stuff that we would definitely have to look at so that we could get into these smaller, steeper areas.
Okay, thank you, very good. Lots update.
Currently, right now, we have sold one of the lots, which, it was Louise, 64 Louise View, that sold. Of the 5 lots that were with Chris.
We
or-
purchased at the county
Yep.
auction, yeah.
With that one lot being sold, we broke even, made a little bit of money. What we have right now, there are 4 lots left. I have 3 of them that are under contract with a 21-day feasibility study. Everything that we make from now going forward is gravy. The 3 that we have right now is 9 Loganberry, 69 Louise View, and 34 Stable, 32 Stable, I think it is. I can't remember. So we're the one up on Stable. The only one that is not gone under contract yet is Rosebud. And we're waiting for a gentleman to decide if he wants that or not. So we are,
So as well as making our money back and making a profit, we also have dues paying
we have,
members.
right, we'll
Sounds
have,
good to me.
Perfect.
Okay. New business, July 4th fireworks. I'm assuming that's presentation, not proclamation.
But okay.
Well, this is the annual request that is made to the board every year to use the other microphone. Annual request is made to the board every year to allow for the discharge of fireworks in the marina because typically discharge of pyrotechnics inside the valley is a prohibited activity. This event or ask is to allow this to be done at a set hours and to make that available to the community to avoid or lessen the potential of possible discharge at the gates. And so that's the ask. The board has to, I'm sure, discuss that, but we are moving forward with the planning part of this, both on the event side and the safety side. So the ask is for 2019 to allow discharge of fireworks in the marina.
Okay. My interest would be,
You
how
need a
much have
motion.
we spent in the past? Yeah?
I believe we need a motion.
Oh, okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we allow fireworks at the 4th of July Marina event.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. So do we know in the past how much we have spent on such an event? And how would that translate to additional security throughout the community instead of it?
We have numbers on what we had spent the last 3 years in that I do not have with me. We'd have to make that available to you. However, last year was kind of an anomaly because the on-field safety aspects in much of the parking was actually done by staff. So that was a cost that we had not incurred in previous years. Previous years it had been bringing on extra security, and safety on the field was done by volunteer organizations such as the CERT team for several years in a row. And last year that did not occur. So we would have to provide those numbers to the board to look at. Either way, there's going to have to be additional security brought on at some level, whether it's 2 officers or 4 officers. We don't know yet. So we're still looking at that as a planning aspect, and those numbers have to be run and verified.
Questions? Eric?
Did I hear you mention any conversation with the new fire chief? And what their take on this is?
I did reach out to the prospective incoming fire chief. As we know, Dave Ralston will be retired when this event occurs. Chief Topol is still willing to support the event, but not at the venue. It would be his resources would be at the station and would be available on call out via the 911 system. So that is a change, but understandable given their volume of calls they are starting to see, and this is why we have a full-time station now.
Other questions?
Call the question?
Mike?
Just one question, Norm. In years past, we had a fire marshal helping coordinate which the fireworks were legal and which were not legal. And I know that last year, and I think maybe the year before that, that was not available to us. If you would, when you get back to Fire Chief Topol, would you ask him if that availability might still be there for us?
I can certainly ask him about that. Typically the fire inspector or the fire marshal's office has provided training. It's not overly cumbersome to go through that. It's because each of the legal, safe and sane fireworks are coded to a certain Washington state number anyway. But I'll ask him if that's something that he would consider supporting or not, and he'll just have to render a decision based on his requirements.
And then might I ask a question of the President regards the vote that's upcoming?
On the what?
May I ask you a question regards the vote that's coming?
Yeah.
If the vote passes, does that mean that the 4th of July will happen down there, whether or not we know the budget or all the parameters? Or is this just yes, we're going to have a 4th of July?
My understanding of the motion is that that pertains only to fireworks down there, and I would like to have 4th of July events, barbecues, whatever, whether or not we vote to have fireworks down there. Is that what the intention of the motion was?
That was the intent of the motion. I could go through the process of requesting to amend the motion, or we can do it in some looser fashion. It's up to you, Madam President.
Carol?
I'm going to be hesitant to vote for this because I have done this for a couple of years, and I know how it's scary doing it, especially I think it's great if staff wants to do it because I feel comfortable that they would have the appropriate amount of training. If it's going to depend on a lot of volunteers, I'm worried that we would have the appropriate amount of training. The other thing was when we did it initially, we were given a mission number by CERT, which covered us for any injury or liability, and volunteers now to do that. I'm not sure what our stance would be if a volunteer got injured or if somebody was hurt or something was damaged. So I'm going to have concerns about voting for this, just not feeling like I understand how covered are we?
Just point of information. Our insurance coverage covers all volunteers. So as long as this is an official Sudden Valley event, any volunteer is covered under our policy. But of course, any harm that is paid for would come back and bite us the next time we have to pay. So in any event, people would not be uncovered.
Yeah, I get that, but
Eric?
still, yeah, okay.
Do we know when our drop dead date of a decision being made on this is?
No, we can, the sooner we get it out there, the better it is. There's no really, I would say probably 30 days would be my true drop dead, but I mean, this is just for point of contact, point of information, get the ball rolling. Do we want to, basically, do we want to do it or do we not want to do it? And if we are going to do it, then we'll go ahead and do it. One of the concerns that I do have is we have a lot of big trees. We have a very big forest. Whether they shoot them off at the marina, they're going to shoot them off in the community. And that's my concern. Haven't been here in July, so I don't know if it's a dry season or a wet season.
Dry.
So now I've compounded the problem even more.
My reason for asking about the drop dead date of decision, and it sounds like there are still a lot of open questions that staff could bring back some information, for example, costs. Comparison of what it would take for extra roving security versus the security that would be brought in for the event. As we were discussing, it's not just about the fireworks, it's about a lot of other stuff that happens at the marina on the 4th of July that we can have as a community. And so I would motion to table until our next board meeting and bring back all that information so we can make a much more informed decision.
I second that.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
Just a comment in favor of that table is that I would also like.
Okay, all in favor of tabling until the next board meeting?
Yeah, oh, well, then we can't. Toss-
We don't need to
Yeah, we
talk
don't
about
need
it.
discussion.
Favor?
Okay, yeah. I just-
Opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Okay, yeah, that's,
I think there's no discussion.
No.
I know, that's why I said
I'm
it.
kind of on the fence myself.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. We have here 3 requests for committee members from emergency preparedness. EPC, would you like to move for,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have Libby Feller. I would like to make a motion that Libby Feller be allowed to be on Emergency Preparedness Committee for 2019. She was a member last year.
Second?
by acclamation, we approve that?
As long as I have the
Oh,
microphone,
you
can
have
I
one?
jump to Parks and Trails?
Oh, yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that Kathleen Laughlin be a member of the Parks and Trails in 2019. That's all.
Second.
Okay, by acclamation.
By acclamation.
Long Range Planning Committee for, Subcommittee for Finance Revenue, and since there's nobody here. I
Nobody
will-
here, I'll do it as a stand-in. I'll move that Mary McIntosh, sorry, had a brain freeze. Mary McIntosh be approved as a committee member.
Second.
Okay, okay, by acclamation, she's also approved. Okay, so we have 3 new committee members, and we are at the end, property owner comments and board response, or board comments, or anything the board wants to do or say. Hearing nothing, we will now entertain a motion to move into closed session
So moved.
to
Second.
discuss a legal issue, at which point we will come out of closed session, and there will be no vote. This is strictly informational. And then we will go back into closed session for the board panel to discuss the appeal.
And
And
those
there will be
people,
a vote coming out of that.
and people
Okay.
can leave early if they aren't going to be on that.
Yes, that's why we're doing it 2 times.
Thank you.
And so we will go into closed session at, what time is it? 7:39.
Madam President, do I stay or do I go, since this is
You
my...
stay.